today's college workshop, college research and planning. Since you folks are here early, I would love to get an idea about what high schools we're attending from and what grades. Based on your responses, I'll try to personalize the chat towards your particular planning during high school, anything that may come up. Awesome. Welcome back. So we have some juniors and sophomores. For all the juniors, 11th grade means, strong GPA after a couple of years in high school. Hopefully you're taking 1 or 2 APs by now. As far as top tier colleges go, the number one thing they look for is a strong GPA. Even though a lot of the cutoffs and stuff like that you'll see are related to the standardized tests, like ACTs and SATs, the number one thing they still look at is your strong GPA. And that is, usually with several APs, and if you're able to show proficiency in those AP classes. So if anyone here has an idea of what type of universities they're looking at, we have several lists here in our presentation today. Additionally, we have a lot of resources here. So we have national universities, liberal arts universities, humanities, engineering universities. So for all the attendees, if you want to start typing in what types of programs or what types of concentrations or majors you're considering, now's that time. Farhan, just wanted to double check that we're going to get a chance to start recording.
Yep, it's already recording.
Appreciate it. Thanks for everything. And if folks are undecided about your major, that's fine too. For a lot of the undecided students, our best suggestions are for you to think about arts and science colleges, colleges that offer a lot of different majors for you to choose from. So even if you're going down one path and you want to switch, that college will allow you to do that without you having to lose too many credits. So that's an important part of the process also. All right, pre-law, computer science and STEM, that's awesome. One of the fastest growing fields right now. All right. And if everyone else can turn your cameras off, please. We're going to continue with the presentation just in a second. Medical, Natasha, got it. So for medicine, medical school is 4 years. Undergrad, which is college, is 4 years. Between that, you got to take the MCATs unless you're at a particular medical program that doesn't require it. So those are all pathways that I speak to my students about. Undecided between medical, engineering, and programming, all in the STEM fields, but STEM is pretty wide of a description. So hopefully top places like UMich, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, that is, NYU, or even Columbia, places out there, Cornell, excellent in all of those. So Farhan, what's the attendee count right now? And we'll get started.
So far we have 10 students in the room.
I think with 304, I think it's fine for us to get started. I know we were having parent-teacher conferences in some of the other areas. So that may be a reason for a slightly lower turnout, but a smaller group makes for a greater conversation. So if it's all right, should I hit present? All right. So the first thing we want to ask you is, what are your favorite hobbies? Your favorite hobbies can tell a lot about a person. It'll help you figure out not only what you like to do in your free time, but hopefully if you're able to create a career out of it. For instance, are you really into building computers? Are you really into reading a lot? Are you really into um, any type of entrepreneurship, whether it's buying and selling sneakers or buying and selling, antique items, like anything that you may be into? Think about your favorite hobbies. If you want to jot this down on your phone, that's fine too. So let's start with our three favorite hobbies. And I'll share some of mine. I love basketball. I love news media like journalism and reporting and speaking. And I also like public health. Those are the three things that I'm into learning about, whether it's personally or out there for professionally. All right, so ask yourself some of these questions because these will help you determine what university may be a good fit for you. So, what are some things that you feel you do well? And that may be a tough question as a teenager to figure out, to think about some talent that you may have. But by now, a lot of students may be taking martial arts, play a musical instrument, participate in athletics. So you can think about some things that you may do well. What things challenge you, whether it's in a bad way or it's a thrive, it helps you thrive. Sometimes people do thrive off of challenges. Again, what do you like to do for fun? Next up, what's something you've always wanted to try? Is there a particular profession or even outside of professions, particular hobbies or cool things you've seen on the news that, or on TV or out there in social media that you wanted to try? Let's start moving towards the classroom. Um, do you have a favorite class? Does that favorite class happen to be your strongest class? What is your strongest class in your transcript columns? Is it the science column? Is it the math column? And just because someone's good at math, it does not make them good at science. So I know people say math and science together, but I do want to make sure that there's that distinction. And we have a lot of folks that are stronger at math and a lot of folks that may be stronger at science. And of course, did you ever, think about what you wanted to be when you grow up as a kid? What is that? All right. So next up, let's think and ask ourselves, do our interests align with our strongest subjects? So let's think about some things that you may be into, whether it's the environment or life sciences, whether it's animals, human beings, behavioral life, other wildlife. Are you into health and fitness? Are you more of a creative? Are you inspired more by the business scene? Or would you rather think about policy? And policy, a lot of research involved, a lot of writing involved. So let's go through some of these majors: environmental science, marine biology, ecology, wildlife biology, agricultural sciences, environmental engineering, and even the economics of the environment. And with climate change and how that affects global health, that is a rapidly more critical field in the world today. Next up, let's think about the analytical majors: anthropology, philosophy, sociology, psychology. And I'll pause right there. Even if you're not going to major in any of these, a lot of colleges make it a part of their core curriculum that students are required to take at least 2 or 3 or all of these. Philosophy and psychology are 2 requirements that we had to complete as students at both Sophie Davis. And while we were students at Sophie Davis, we were still CUNY City College students. So between the 2, as an undergraduate, I had to take psychology and philosophy. Moving on, media studies, women and gender studies, history, English, classical humanities, of course, education. For those in health and fitness, again, it's not just becoming a medical doctor and clinical medicine. There are a lot of other avenues within healthcare, such as nutrition, public health. And I'll pause right there to describe that public health has at least 5 major subdivisions or concentrations that you can choose from. So even within the big umbrella of public health, I, for instance, chose to do my public health degree from SUNY Downstate. The concentration was health management and policy. During my time there was also a concentration for biostatistics, epidemiology. If you think about what's going on right now with COVID-19, and thank gosh we're reached the milestone of vaccine. Those 2 have played a big part: biostatistics and epidemiology. There's also environmental public health, urban public health, international public health. So those are a lot of avenues you could explore within public health. And of course, with the rest of it, you have other healthcare lines like psychology, PT, physical therapy, sports nutrition, nursing, physician's assistance programs, and so on and so forth. So within the next subgroup, the creatives, you have the visual arts, dance, music, film, computer science. So even computer science gets jumbled in with the STEM fields, and you never really think about how much creativity is required there. Journalism, communications, marketing. Then you have the business avenues, and of course the policy ones. So I'll pause right there. If anyone has any questions about any of these majors, now's a good time for us to take a quick minute.
Ivan, so there was one question. Naresh asked, what extracurricular activities are required for computer science program at an Ivy college?
That's fantastic. That's a very specific and great question. Extracurricular, any type of hackathon that you can enter, or any type of competitions that have to deal with coding, those are always encouraged. And Farhan, I know that you have a lot of familiarity with this. What have some of your colleagues done on their way to their top colleges?
So usually in high school, there are coding clubs. There's AP courses that you can also take. I know AP is not really an extracurricular, but it looks really good to take an AP Comp Sci exam for your college applications. So I do definitely recommend you definitely look into any clubs that you can have at your school, like with related to computer science. So we also had another question from Samia. She asked, "What did you do? What did you do your public health in?"
I had my public health concentration in health policy and management. So my final thesis was the viability of standalone ERs. So I did my public health degree back in 2009. And as you see now, we have those urgent care centers. That's the name given, where people are often getting similar to an emergency room, but not that level of trauma. So that was my final thesis. My wife did her public health degree from Columbia Mailman School, and her summer project that she ended up doing was at Cohen's Children's Hospital, and she did a management. She did a few rotations at two different hospitals around health management in the provider setting, in the hospital setting. So with a public health degree, you don't have to necessarily see patients like medical doctors do. However, you can be working in any type of healthcare environment that values that. So great question.
Amazing. Also, Mahili, I'm pretty sure I butchered that name, asked, and can you say the same for the medical field? Is this regarding the club thing or uh, what?
The extracurriculars for the medical field, is that
Yeah,
what you're asking
yeah,
toward?
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So personally, I did lots and lots and lots of hours of volunteer work at the North Shore University Hospital. So as a high schooler, I started after my freshman year. I did as many shifts as they'd let me do back then. And I know that's really difficult this past year since March 2020 due to COVID-19. But there have been some high school students of ours that we've seen end up getting internships at local clinics. And so even as high school students, the easiest pathway is finding a good, credible hospital and finding about their volunteer department and starting there. Of course, after school organizations such as the Pre-Med Society and leadership roles in those where you're able to maybe do a big project in school where you've been able to do a health project that impacted some of your classmates or helped bring a campaign or attention towards prevention of anything or better health. Those are things that you can try out in your school, depending on the organizations that you have, and end up writing about it in your personal statement or including it in your extracurricular section in your applications.
Another question was, what would be some good internships for computer science? I think I can take that question. So for comp sci, usually internships are very hard to come by, especially in high school. Even in like as a junior in college, a lot of people will say no. But I do recommend you look into any like side projects and stuff that people can work with you on. Internships are very hard to get with big companies, so just be very aware of that. And like obviously doesn't hurt to apply, but definitely just don't feel bad if you get rejected. It's like a 1 in a million shot. um
What about smaller companies? What about startups? Like if you
Startups are even harder.
really, so getting an
Yeah.
internship at a startup is more difficult than an internship at a larger place, huh?
Yeah, so with startups, they can't really afford to have to teach you anything, right? Because they're very small. So you do have to like know what you're doing to go into a startup. Um, you can try applying to big companies. I know someone in one of my friends in STI actually applied to Bloomberg, and I'm pretty sure he made it to like the second or third round of interviews, and then they said no. But obviously, it doesn't hurt to give it a shot, right? You never know what's going to happen for you. Um, Another question was, do you think it's better to go undeclared if your extracurriculars are all over the place?
I think it's important to check off whatever you're actually feeling. So if you are undeclared, write undeclared. But don't feel the pressure that you have to justify your extracurriculars because you tried a few different things, and that's always encouraged. The earlier folks are able to experience different types of extracurriculars, you'll not only know what types of extracurricular activities you want to grow more towards, and especially what types of extracurricular activities you don't want to waste any of your time in during college once you get in. All right, we'll move on for now, and we'll come back to our next more questions as in our next break. So let's go through quickly the arts and humanities. They encompass many different fields, and one of the good things about this is if you are still deciding, this is a really good, safe pathway where you're not committing yourself to one thing. I'm going to go to school of engineering. I'm going to go to school of design or a school of pharmacy, and I'm just going to commit myself to this one profession. Arts and humanities allows, students in college to take so many different types of courses as they explore what majors are best for them. And depending on the field, you can get higher levels of certification in the workforce through certification exams, or get master's degrees, PhDs, or even doctorate degrees. And also, let's keep in mind the experience that you'll have in the classroom in college. Arts and humanities are two good. For instance, if you're thinking about a place like Columbia, Columbia has two major sub-colleges within the Columbia University, not counting Barnard College, which is itself its own standing college. So you have Columbia College, which is more geared towards arts and humanities, and School of Engineering, Arts and Sciences, which is more towards the heavy engineering STEM topics. So even at Columbia College that can focus on philosophy and sociology and all these fantastic liberal arts, Columbia still requires you to take a core curriculum of at least 2 years of courses like philosophy, like sociology, like a particular foreign language, to ensure that you as a student are getting exactly what they believe you should be. But at the same time, if you think about a place like Brown, which is another top place in the United States, top Ivy League college, it's a very, very different climate when it comes to course and curriculum. It's a lot more of an open curriculum. So you want to be doing your homework to find out which type of curriculum that college may make you do or may not, force you to do. So some quick salary stats from 2014. These stats are from 3 to 4 years ago during the start of one of our programs here. So if you take a look, creative directors, and again, salaries can vary state to state. And that's why medians are always good. Median number, the minimum or the maximum, it's somewhere in the middle. So keep thinking about the way the pandemic will be impacting a lot of these industries. So film and video editing and camera operators, a lot of studios had to cut back on their workforce as production has declined. Multimedia artists and animators, you have to keep thinking about the way employment's also changing. There was a recent New York Times article that advised that you're not going to be going to college to learn how to do one thing. You'll probably be going to college to learn at least 5 to 7 different important skill sets.
I need both charges.
And from there, hey, Farhan, if you want to help mute some of the participants, thank you. So besides the pandemic having its effect, just the advancement of technology can really set things in a different direction. So rather than focusing on, hey, I'm going to do one career my whole life, it's really not like that anymore. It's very likely that graduates will be experiencing work in at least 4 to 5 different industries throughout their careers. So let's take a look at some of the cutoffs for standardized exams for top places in arts and humanities. If you think about, a very, very common place that people want to apply to from New York, clearly NYU is, a very common and great place that a lot of people apply to. Tufts University, I'll just go through the rankings. So I have the best national universities rankings here if anyone's curious. You have the median SAT scores, the median ACT scores. So this is the 2020 version. NYU here is ranked 30, where Stern Business School is a top 5 business school. So the NYU has the College of Arts and Sciences, and that's for the arts and Humanities, and Stern Business School has different cutoffs. Tufts on this list is a little higher, 27. It's in Boston. It's one of many colleges in Boston. And one thing cool and fun about Boston is if you get a chance to go to school there, you'll end up getting to meet and socialize and experience activities from different campus, not just your own. So any big city may offer that advantage. Amherst, Williams, and Swarthmore are the top 3 liberal arts colleges. Williams College is in Massachusetts, and Amherst is in Massachusetts, and Swarthmore is in Pennsylvania. So one big advantage, if you're a city kid, particularly from a minority background, South Asian, Black, Latin, any of the above, oftentimes getting to apply to some of these places like Amherst and Williams and Swarthmore, you end up opening opportunities for scholarships. You may think, hey, I'm just going to apply to Stony Brook or Binghamton, and it's a state school. I'm going to get all this money from them. But that's up to the state. And these private universities or colleges, liberal arts colleges, they have a lot of money reserved for top candidates to increase their diversity profiles and hopefully give you folks a fantastic experience at a not so high of a cost. Keep in mind some APs that may, and SAT 2s that may come in handy if you are serious about attending one of these places. All right, comp sci. Computer science is a lucrative market. Some pathways require more schooling and some pathways require certifications. So if you are really, really enjoying math, physics, obviously a lot of more high schools are mandating comp sci classes right now. That may be for you. If you're unsure, Farhan, do you recommend any, learn at home coding programs that people can sign on to for free and teach themselves how to code? Like, does Khan Academy have like a Khan Academy code thing?
Khan Academy has a code thing. It's not really good. I'd recommend, honestly, the way I learn some things, like I'm very interested in web development. So like whenever I'm working on any sort of web dev project, I usually just go on YouTube and they are able to walk you through everything. And like the more you practice the way to like code certain things, the more you'll develop the part on your brain where I can take this little bit of information and implement it into another bigger project and make it even better. So it's like with comp sci, you have to there's definitely a lot of research involved. Free wise, I don't really know much that's out there, but if you are really interested, I recommend going into Codecademy. Codecademy has a huge array of programs and languages that you can learn, and it actually just does come handy a lot.
There you go. I think you took the words out of my mouth because I probably thought about Code Academy and I know about Khan Academy, and my 2 young children attend weekly classes at a place called Coder School. So Code Academy, folks. Thank you, Farhan. Moving on. Just some salary information. And again, median can be a little higher, a little lower, and it is from 2014. Even throughout the pandemic, computer science is one of those areas, and programming and security, it hasn't been impacted in a negative way as badly as a lot of other things that are a little less, maybe a little bit more optional out there. So the media industry may have been more impacted, but trades such as this, not as badly. All right, what pathways exist in high school? AP Calc, AB, AP Comp Sci. There's 2 types. but not every single high school offers all of these computer science and APs. And if you're looking to get into a great computer science program or technology program, the SAT 2s, particularly the math 2s, SAT 2s would help you stand out. The math 1s are all right, but you can't really allow yourself to stand out if you're going towards a math heavy field. So the SAT 2s and math 2 is highly recommended. So for those who are thinking about engineering or comp sci, we all know about MIT being number 1 on our list. You also have University of California, Berkeley, Caltech, Georgia Institute of Technology, and Carnegie Mellon. And just to let you know, MIT is 3rd on this list. Carnegie Mellon, it's in Pittsburgh, is number 25 on this list. And these are all places ranked higher than NYU. And I'll take California Institute of Technology is ranked number 12, above Ivy Leagues, Dartmouth, and Brown, above Cornell. So just because it's not labeled an Ivy League, that does not mean it's something to sleep on. It's a fantastic, fantastic opportunity for a strong education. And think about where you're going to be going to school. Are you willing to move all the way out to California if most of your family's out here? Or are you ready for that? Or have you been waiting for that your whole life? Next up, MIT, Massachusetts, obviously close by. You don't have to fly there, you can drive. But do you want to be in the Northeast for 4 more years when you have a chance to move to a warmer climate? Pittsburgh, what do you know about Pittsburgh, and how far is it to get there? You'll need a plane usually to fly there. And what advantages do you have? So you want to obviously think about the cities and the locations because of internships during college. So if you're at a place like Berkeley or Caltech, you're right near Silicon Valley, and you got Google headquarters, Facebook headquarters, and you got a lot of top tech firms coming out of there. And of course in Georgia, you got some big time employers out in Georgia and Atlanta. And Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, there are a lot of fantastic opportunities, not only in technology, but in their healthcare system at Pittsburgh. Business and finance, a lot of different ways to get yourself into business and finance. 4-year degree in undergrad where you can be either majoring in finance or similar fields like accounting or economics or quants majors. So as far as business schools and actuaries, where you assess risk for insurance companies. As far as business schools, we're thinking about places like UPenn, NYU, Harvard's great for business, UMich, University of Virginia. So if you think about some of these places, a lot of them, for us, New York State residents, you're going to have to pay out-of-state tuition. And if it's a highly selective place like UPenn, you have to consider the strongest advantages that you may have to get into UPenn, which may be through early decision. So if you're unsure, obviously don't apply any place early decision if you're not really sure, but you gotta keep in mind the grades required for some of these top places. So we'll pause here for some questions. We went through several colleges, several universities, at least 10 or 15 by now, and you've seen the cutoffs. And again, these are just the SAT cutoffs. If you see something like 1450 to 1500, you can assume they're looking for a 3.8, 3.9, 4.0 GPA. So GPA, again, with those challenging coursework is what will help make you stand out. So any questions as we take a quick moment for questions. Farhan, any questions from the audience?
None as of now, but I guess we'll give it a minute.
All right. Another thing I would push everyone to do, and it's really tough to do during COVID, is to email or call your guidance counselors at school, have an appointment with them, find out about the number of students from your high school that got into any of these places. Even though we all may have one dream college in our mind, I always push people to have 5 reaches that you're thinking about applying to, 5 target schools that you may be a fantastic fit, and at least 4 safeties.
So we have one question from Shubham. He asked, if I have a GPA above 3.8 but lacking an SAT score by 100 or 200 points, would I still have a chance to get accepted?
It's always tougher. There are certain academic programs where you may get into a college by performing below the cutoffs. So I'll just be honest, if you're able to look for an education opportunities program for that college that you're thinking about, you may fit the profile. You may be economically disadvantaged. If you're economically disadvantaged while not meeting some of the SAT cutoffs, they may make you eligible as a perfect candidate for that program. EOP or HEOP, Higher Education Opportunities Programs. However, that's why I push to keep these ranges, even though it says median. The median one year could be 1430, the median the next year could be 1450 for Notre Dame. For NYU Stern, that's the median. That means half of the people who may have had 1,500 pluses got rejected from NYU Stern because they lacked other areas. And again, the profiles of every single candidate is so similar, can be so similar, that it's the personal statement and your extracurriculars with leadership that can hopefully allow you to stand out in the crowd.
All right, so there was another question from Samia. It said, if you get full scholarship, do you still have to pay the out-of-state tuition fee?
If you got a full scholarship, I guess it would not, you'd have to pay the out-of-state tuition fee, meaning you could get a type of scholarship that's outside of the school, and even as an out-of-state resident, you can still get scholarships from that university. However, their technical charges for you would be that out-of-state tuition, which often can be up to double. But since that scholarship covers it, it would kind of cancel out. But they'd still charge you for the out-of-state tuition because you're a different resident. So out-of-state, UMich, and again, private universities, it does not matter. It only matters for public universities, and UMich happens to be one of those places. The top 30 public national universities are UCLA, UC Berkeley, University of Virginia. So again, it doesn't just have to be a private school to be a top school. Of great public universities are on these lists. Georgia Institute of Technology, as we mentioned before, University of California, Irvine. Sorry to say, I do not see too many things from the State University of New York here as far as top public national universities. Penn State made number 20. There are a lot of New Yorkers that end up at Penn State. University of Connecticut, 22. So those are all options. Should I move on?
There was one more question. What are some good pharmacy colleges in New York?
Pharmacy programs in New York, off the top of my head, I'd absolutely recommend St. John's and LIU. If you want to double check to see if Rutgers in New Jersey has a pharmacy program that's comparable, that may be a good option as well. So those are the top 3 places where you can even possibly secure a spot in their pharmacy school while in high school.
Great. That seems to
All
be the
right,
amount of questions for now.
great. So just a quick rundown again for APs. If you're able to take AP Calculus as a junior or senior, great. I know a lot of high schools offer AP Macro or Microeconomics in 11th grade. So if you're able to swing that and get an experience there and you enjoy it and you do well, great. And for the SAT2s, again, if you're applying to a top place like that, you probably want to invest some more time into ensuring that you take the SAT2s in Math 2, not Math 1. You want to make it count. I know one of you had written that you're interested in law programs. Our good colleague, Kaseen Chaudhary, one of his biggest pieces of advice for folks looking to go into law, again, your college experience will be 4 years. Your LSATs will be after college, or during college or after college. And then law school itself is 3 more years. So that's 7 years total before you take your bar exam. So taking the bar exam may take several months, up to 6 months, and depending on how you schedule it, and then you start your career. And we got to keep in mind, you want to get your scholarships ahead of time for undergraduate, your regular college experience, your bachelor's degree, because getting scholarships for grad school is a lot more rare. You can get loans, but you'll have to pay them back at high interest rates that accumulate over time, and it really gets in the way of growing your financial freedom if you're bogged down with loans from law school and stuff. So again, these are just median salaries, and these are few years old, so we will have more updated numbers for future presentations. Top undergraduate law schools. So these are top places where top law schools, and if you have a really great law, oftentimes you're recruiting from that same undergraduate institution. So this is just Harvard as a 4-year college, and we can keep in mind that Harvard has its own law school, which is separate. To get into Georgetown University, these are the scores. Georgetown's in Washington, D.C. Princeton, New Jersey, Columbia. You also want to think the size of the student body. Do you want to be at a place that's 5,000 kids, 10,000 kids? Do you want to be in the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, or in the New York metro region? So location and environment, do you want to be in a college town like Princeton, or do you want to be in the big city like in Columbia or Harvard, New York and Boston respectively? Moving on. All right, courses we can take to pursue the law field: AP Gov, AP US History, AP World History. And I know if you're thinking about pharmacy or computer science, you're not really paying attention to literature and world history, but these can really go a long way in helping round out your application. Even if you're applying to a medical program and they see that you're into history and you're into literature and you at least have one of these under your belt, they'll understand that you're holistically pretty mature. All right, health and medicine. many fields in health and medicine. There's medical doctorates, there's physician's assistants, there's nursing. But for the traditional 4-year medical degrees, it's 4 years of college. Then you got to take the MCAT and do well on it, get into medical school. Then you have several parts of the licensing exams. USMLE's Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. And you really have to make a lifelong commitment. There will be many years where your working hours will be absolutely out of your control. So if you're on call, you'll have to miss important occasions with your family. And it's a really life-changing commitment to a career that comes at a sacrifice. So just think about that before jumping into health and medicine. And if that's what you're looking to do and commit to a life of service to helping not only your family, yourself, but your patients, best wishes to you. All right. Physicians do get paid. That is something you cannot deny. If you ask doctors, they probably will tell you that based on the number of years they've gone to medical school and done their training, they're underpaid. Or based on the number of hours they're doing, they're getting paid less than someone like a well-paid teacher who gets 3-4 months of the year off, or a school principal. So think about it that way too. It's not just about the salaries, it's about lifestyle, and most importantly, what you enjoy doing. So for me personally, I did countless hours at North Shore University Hospital. I did not enter any research competitions. You can also shadow physicians at the clinics and a lot of similar pathways. Health and medicine, these are some top places. These are great colleges, undergraduate colleges with medical schools connected to them. And it's, the Vanderbilt Medical Center, the college is near the medical school, near the biggest hospital in town. And, it's kind of a pipeline from college to medical school to their residency programs. And that's how they envision it often. So if you're at Johns Hopkins in Maryland, 5-hour car drive away, chances are, you have a greater chance of maybe sticking around there for medical school if things work out. Northwestern's in Illinois, right outside of Chicago. Duke's in North Carolina. Vanderbilt's in Tennessee. So if people are into rankings, I'll just quickly go through it. Duke's number 8, right below Stanford. Vanderbilt is number 14, above Cornell. Carnegie Mellon, as mentioned before, is number 25, 5 spots above NYU. Northwestern is number 10. Several spots above 2 or 3 Ivy League colleges. So just because they're not an Ivy, that doesn't mean they're not, that they're not competitive. Every place has its own appeal and its own reason to want to attend. Keep in mind jobs. If these colleges, again, colleges near medical schools and near the number of hospitals, that will help you get into the residency of your dreams, hopefully. So AP Chem, if you're able to take AP Chemistry during high school, go for it. If your school offers AP Chemistry and regular chemistry, and you're worried about maintaining your GPA, we do tutor for the AP Chemistry, AP exams, and we have some students who are doing that. They skip regular chemistry, but they're taking AP Chemistry with us. So with that combined, we're able to support their AP Chemistry. So once they're done with that, take the SAT 2s after you take AP Chemistry. If you're wondering about SAT 2s, They're more difficult than your regents will be and easier than the APs. So if you happen to get your AP chemistry out of the way with, then you can take your SAT 2 chemistries and hopefully do really well. We do have an increasing number of students at cons who are looking to get their SATs completed and out of the way with before junior year starts. And for some really, really special individuals, they're looking to take and complete their SATs and get their 1500s and 1550s before 10th grade starts. That's for the spring and fall, spring and summer programs that we have for the SATs. All right, engineering. A lot of different types of engineering. So that's the first thing you got to keep in mind. There's at least 40 different types. There's biomedical, electrical, chemical. Each degree has a different pathway. They're all heavy on math and science. And there are engineering exams that folks have to take in the field in their respective fields. Additionally, they'll have to take certifications to be competitive in their workforce. So all of that you put together, and hopefully you can find a fulfilling career that you really enjoy in engineering. Different types of engineers with their median salaries are listed here. Internship, volunteering, and extracurricular opportunities. All right, let's look at some of those top engineering places. MIT, University of Illinois, UMich again. And have you guys noticed UMich keeps popping up? It was popping up for health and sciences. I think it popped up for at least 2 more before this. And now here it is again for engineering. And if any of you are Bronx Science or STI or Brooklyn Tech or Specialized High School graduates, I've seen certain schools have a really strong connection to schools in New York, even colleges outside of New York. So I've seen UMich be one of those places that when they know that they got a good, some strong candidates from these places, they throw a lot of scholarship money towards them to make it lucrative and appealing to attend, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor for 4 years. Good luck in the cold. AP Calculus, AP Physics, SAT 2s in Physics and Math 2 all help towards a fantastic spot at a great engineering program in the United States. So as we wrap up today's conversation, today's workshop, most important things are follow the transcript strengths, learn the pathways you got to take, and keep an open mind. You may start in one engineering pathway and switch over to another. If you're into STEM and the creative arts, like the humanities, even better. That way you'll be able to use something artistic and creative to help make your other skill set complement that. So I'm going to open the chat box up. Farhan, what questions do we have from the audience?
Let's check. There was one that was, what are some good, actually, no, not that. What GPA/SAT is necessary for St. John's Pharmacy program?
Great question. I'm going to stop my share. All right. So as far as the St. John's Pharmacy program, that's changed over the years. Right now, I would not know the exact cutoffs for that program. It's a really good question that our team will look up and have handy for next week. But I do advise that somewhere in the 14s and 1450s is the minimum range you want to be for the standardized tests. And something in the low to mid 90s will get you, reviewed. And of course, if you have other experiences that can help support it, that's going to only help increase your chances. Top arts and humanities programs. Great question, Carter. Top arts and humanities programs, that's one beautiful thing about that is you have a big range of SAT cutoffs. So almost nearly every list that I've seen, 1450 is that median score where I see a lot of people getting, 1450 is that median score where colleges will really start appreciating and looking at you. If you have like a 1380, but they're only looking at 1450s and, you know, and again, we have to weigh this against your strong GPA, hopefully, Carter. So those are all important aspects, but 1450, 1500 for IBs and tier 1 colleges. As far as GPA goes, 3.8, 3.9. APs do matter. If you have more APs and you've been able to show that you've been able to hang well and do perform well on them, that always shows the college that you're ready. Is NYIT a good college? Yes, NYIT is a good, very good college for engineering, for architecture, and things within technology. And one special program that they have in their campus is their DO program. So that's called a Doctor of Osteopathy. It's very, very, very similar to an MD. You pretty much get access to apply for many of the same residency programs. MDs do have a slighter edge in the residency application process for the really competitive residency spots. However, for a vast majority of the internal medicine, pediatrics, PM&R, the DO degree, which is very popular in NYIT, is excellent. How do you apply to the SAT-2s? The SAT-2s, my best suggestion, they're only a 1-hour exam, but there's 50 questions, as far as I remember from my time. But I just know that the 1 hour to have that many questions answered, you're really against the clock. So through College Board, similar to the SATs, you click on the SAT-2 options. Thank you so much for helping each other. All right. All right, everyone. You know, on behalf of our entire team at Consultorial and on behalf of my family, my mom, and our Chief Operating Officer, Nipa, my wife, and our kids, I want to wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. You know, so just stay safe out there. Stay warm, and we'll see you next week at 2:30 for the final workshop in this series. Stay safe and happy holidays, everyone.